everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Let's just jump right into it, all right? Today, we are exploring a topic that fundamentally shifts how we see the world. Our goal is to totally demystify the invisible rules that govern everything around us. We're talking about the underlying structures that dictate how a forest thrives, how a massive corporation functions, and how complex engineering projects are actually built. Basically, we're unlocking complexity itself by diving into the fascinating world of system science.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap. First, the concept of systemness. Second, foundations in history. Third, mapping the knowledge area. Fourth, core systemic mechanisms. And finally, real-world systems engineering. The material itself is actually a coherent, interconnected system of ideas that we are going to zoom in and out of as we go.
So, transitioning into our first zoom-out phase, Section 1, the concept of systemness, finding the invisible threads.
As we zoom out to look at the massive, cross-domain big picture of how systems form and adapt, I have to pose this question to you. How can natural ecosystems, social organizations, engineered machines, and abstract concepts possibly be related? Seriously, pause and think about that for a second. What could a dense tropical rainforest, a multinational banking corporation, and the tiny microchip inside your smartphone possibly have in common? On the surface, absolutely nothing. But beneath the surface, they are all governed by the exact same rules.
Well, the real aha moment, the answer to that puzzle, lies in a concept called isorphies. You see, system science isn't just about the specific stuff a system is made of, it's about the patterns. When we identify recurring characteristics, structures, or behaviors that appear across completely diverse domains, we call them isorphies. Discovering these shared traits is literally the ultimate cheat code for understanding complexity. Because once you recognize the pattern of how a system persists and interacts in, say, biology, you can recognize it right over in technology.
Now, as this slide brilliantly illustrates, this requires a major shift in perspective. We aren't just looking at isolated parts anymore. Traditional disciplines focus on specific, isolated classes of phenomena, like a biologist studies cells, an economist studies markets, right? But system science aims to identify structures and behaviors common across all domains. We're looking for universal patterns that give us a unified framework for the whole shebang. Moving into a zoom-in phase, let's look at Section 2, Foundations in History, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. You know, this incredible unified framework didn't just magically appear overnight. It was built discipline by discipline. Let's rapidly trace this momentum. In 1948, Wiener introduces cybernetics. Then in 1956, Boulding outlines system hierarchy. By 1961, Forrester explores system dynamics. Moving on, in 1968, Bertalanffy publishes his general system theory. In the 70s, specifically 1977, Nicholas and Prigogine detail thermodynamics and complexity. And rounding it out in 1980, Maturana and Varela examine autopoiesis. It's just wild how all these diverse traditions, from early feedback loops to the emergence of order, collided to form the integrative field we use today. All right, time for an even deeper zoom in. Section 3, Mapping the Knowledge Area, Deconstructing the SEBoK framework.
So the SEBoK framework notes that systems science therefore serves as a bridge between foundational understanding and practical application. So the crucial point here is that word, bridge. It's not just abstract theory floating in the clouds, and it's not just blindly hammering nails. It is the literal link that connects the deep understanding of how the universe works directly to the practical application of building complex things.
Let's walk through this ecosystem to see exactly where that bridge sits. It starts with the nature of systems, which defines what systems are and how they are described. Then, smack in the middle sits system science, explaining how systems behave and organize across domains. From there, it flows into systems thinking to apply those concepts, representing systems with models to provide formal tools for analysis, and finally, systems approach applied, which brings it directly to engineered systems. System science is the theoretical core, entirely embedded within this broader ecosystem.
Transitioning now to the structural progression of all this. Section 4, Core Systemic Mechanisms, the Architecture of Complexity. Let's actually slow down the pacing just a bit here, because this is important. The SEBoK articles progressively build a user's understanding from basic observations to integrated hierarchies in 3 distinct steps. Step 1, establish empirical and conceptual foundations. Step 2, develop core systemic mechanisms. And Step 3, integrate into multi-level and scientific perspectives. It's a really seamless journey from basic observation to complete, complex understanding.
So, what exactly are those core systemic mechanisms we just mentioned in Step 2? Well, think of them as nature's gears, the literal mechanics of systemness that keep natural and engineered systems persisting and evolving. We are looking at emergence and complexity, system dynamics and feedback control, organization and hierarchy, adaptation and information flow, and last but not least, entropy and self-production, also known as autopoiesis.
Okay, time to execute our final zoom out. Section 5, Real-World Systems Engineering, Applying the Science. Bringing everything back to the practical real world to answer the ultimate why this matters question. Engineered systems operate within interconnected social, ecological, and technical environments. I can't emphasize this enough. Engineering never happens in a vacuum. Every single project, every system designed, impacts and is impacted by the social structures around it, the ecology it sits in, and the other technical systems it interfaces with.
And connecting this directly back to the timeline and mechanisms we discussed earlier, this theory empowers engineers to solve massive problems. By applying system science, engineers can anticipate emergent behavior and those tricky unintended consequences. They can design much more resilient systems, manage complex interactions across system boundaries, and operate effectively under extreme complexity and uncertainty. It is a real game changer.
So I'll leave you with this. Now that you know the invisible rules, how will you apply systemness to decode the complex, interconnected environments in your own life and work? You now understand that the patterns governing ecosystems are the exact same ones governing organizations and technology. You literally have a new superpower to see the hidden structures all around you. The question is, how are you going to use it? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep observing those patterns and keep learning.